In this video, we're going to be looking at the product rule and the basic power rule. In 1, it wants us to write each expression using exponents. In A, we have x times x times x times x times x. And we have 5 factors of x. So we can write this as x to the 5th. X is our base, and 5 is how many factors of that base we had. In B, we have 3x times 3x times 3x times 3x. And our base is 3x, and we have 4 factors of that base. So we're going to have 3x raised to the 4th. In 2, it says the expression x cubed times x squared can be written as x times x times x times x times x, or x times x times x times x times x. And this equals x to the 5th. And they want to know what the relationship between the exponents of x cubed times x squared and x to the 5th are. And the relationship is that 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. So if we multiply quantities with the same base, we add their exponents. In 3, it says the expression x cubed squared can be written as x cubed times x cubed, or x times x times x times x times x times x, and this equals x to the 6th. And they want to know what the relationship between the exponents of x cubed squared and x to the 6th. And if we were to multiply 3 times 2, it's equal to 6. So if we raise a quantity to a power, then we multiply their exponents. And they state those 2 rules we just talked about in the box. And let's take a look at some examples. In 4, it says simplify each expression. Indicate which rule above applies. In A, we have 2 times x cubed times x to the 11th. And here we're multiplying quantities with the same base, x cubed times x to the 11th. So we're going to add their exponents. So we're going to have 2 times x to the 3 plus 11, and this is equal to 2x to the 14. And here in A, we use the product rule. In B, we have x times x squared times x to the 5th. So we have the same base of x, and we're multiplying them. So we're going to add their exponents. So I have x raised to the 1 plus 2 plus 5. And 1 plus 2 plus 5 is equal to 8. So we have x to the 8th power. And again, we use the product rule. In C, we have 2 times x to the 5th times 3x cubed. So this is going to be equal to 2 times 3 times x to the 5th times x cubed. And 2 times 3 is equal to 6. And x to the 5th times x to the 3rd is going to be x to the 8th. Because we multiplied x to the 5th times x to the 3rd, they had the same base, so we add their exponents. And we use the product rule. In D, we have x squared times x cubed, all raised to the 6th. So the first thing we're going to want to do is use the product rule and multiply x squared times x cubed, which would give us x to the 5th, 2 plus 3, all raised to the 6th. So this step was the product rule. And now we have x to the 5th raised to the 6th. So now we're going to multiply the exponents. So we have x to the 5 times 6, which is equal to x to the 30. And here we use the power rule. In E, we have x to the 4th raised to the 10th times x squared times x cubed. The first thing I'm going to do is use the power rule, and I have x to the 4th raised to the 10th. And because we're using the power rule and we have an exponent raised to an exponent, we're going to multiply them. So I'm going to have x to the 40th times x squared times x cubed. So this was power rule. And now we're going to use the product rule and multiply x to the 40th times x squared times x cubed. And that would be x to the 40 plus 2 is 42, plus 3 is 45. In F, we have 2x times y times 3x squared times y cubed. So here we have 2 times 3 times, we have an x times an x squared times y cubed. And now we have 2 times 3 is equal to 6. And we have x times x squared. And so our base is x, and we're using the product rule. So we're going to add our exponents. So we have 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. And then we have y times y cubed. So our base is y, and we have another product rule. So 1 plus 3 gives us an exponent of 4. So there's 3 factors of x and 4 factors of y. It's important that when you have more than one variable in an expression that you only combine the factors with the same base. And that's our video on product rule and basic power rule.